Over the past 6 months, I have found myself falling slowly down a rabbit hole. A deep, dark, very weeby rabbit hole that I never expected myself to be on. I swore for years that I was shunning off the one bit of nerddom that I've been avoiding for a very long time, and that was anime. But as I watched the slow decline of American cinema, as things just get worse and worse and lamer, as the culture war seems to be taking over anything and everything that we are to consume that's out there, whether it be movies or television, music, books, video games, you name it, things are just really starting to suck here in the States. And it leaves me with the question that maybe the solution, at least for now, as hard as it is for me to admit, is anime. Now, as we get started here, the first thing I want to tell you to do is visit Criticless.com. You can find the website, Criticless.com, or find us in the app stores on Android and Apple. One of the big things that I'm going to be doing is referencing a list that I have made, which is called My Anime Journey. And this is a list that I started making as our Criticless users started conning me into watching more and more anime as I fell down this rabbit hole that I was talking about. Now, I've been into animation for years, but anime specifically is something I've kind of avoided because it's just a level of nerddom that I didn't know if I was capable of taking on. I'm into, superheroes and comic books and you name it, most of the nerd culture things I take part in to some degree, but anime would just seemed too daunting and sometimes just a wee bit too nerdy. And one of the biggest things that I pushed off against was just I think it's just some of that cultural disconnect there is just the kind of ridiculousness of anime. So one of the things when some of our users within Criticless were trying to talk me into watching it was they were saying, you don't have to go for the extreme, really weird anime. There's other places to start. There's other levels of anime. So if you don't know and aren't familiar, which I'm sure you are, anime is traditionally coming out of Japan or other countries as well, typically of Asian descent. But now even America and some US outlets have started doing, Western anime, which I was watching some of before starting to get deeper down this rabbit hole. But where I actually jumped things off was Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan seemed to be the one show that people kept coming back to. Now, if you take a look here, you'll see that the show has had 4 seasons, and there are a whole lot of episodes now. I don't think that there's actually 87. I think that might be with the dubbed and subbed kind of split up. But either way, I mean, there is some depth to this show. There's a lot to watch. But this was the one that people kept coming back to, and they're like, it's quite grounded. And I have to say, after taking a look, if you look right here at the audience scores, Friends with Benefits scores, my score personally is a 99%. I binged through this show in such a short period of time. It was honestly shocking. It was all I watched for several weeks on end because I became so hooked. And I didn't realize the level of storytelling that was actually taking place within a lot of the anime community. And this is why I'm glad that people kind of pushed me in this direction first, because this show is quite impressive. If you're a fan of Game of Thrones and a lot of these deeper storytelling shows, then I think that this is a great place to start. Now, there will be some of that disconnect that I was talking about. There will be some anime weirdness from time to time, but honestly, out of my journey so far, Attack on Titan has probably the least out of a lot of this genre of the things that I've seen. It kind of gets the least weird and stays the most grounded, even though it's about a bunch of giant, naked monster people. But just bear with me here. Bear with me. Give it a shot and check it out. And I think that it will grab you. If you can get past some of the kind of extreme overacting angle of some of the anime that tends to be something that you can't really avoid in this genre, but it comes and goes. It's not constantly there, and you will get used to it to some degree. Now, the next place that I headed was Delicious in Dungeon, and this was a journey that I took all on my own.
If you wore this, Marcel, we think you'd look real cute.
It's great, really.
What a nice color on you.
So neat how the eye parts make it look like we have little ears.
Let's go.
Yes, ma'am.
I had finished Attack on Titan and I didn't know what else to do, and I saw that there was some new show out on Netflix. And I was like, why not give it a try? It's like a dungeon show, and Delicious in Dungeon, kind of a weird name, but as I started going deeper down the rabbit hole of this show, I realized that the concept was completely awesome. As a board gamer, you know, it pulls a lot of these themes from video games, board games, and dungeon crawling, but also this is a cooking show. So these concepts mashed up seems to be something that's very common within anime, and it kind of blew me away how meta anime could get and how nerd culture it could get, and that I think is what's grabbed me the most, because I am in a lot of these little niches, and anime seems to pull from a lot of these and incorporate them within their shows, and this is one of the big ones that happened for me. And I gave the show a 97. It's almost as high as Attack on Titan. I love it. Watched it beginning to end, the whole first season. There's 24 episodes, and I highly recommend it. It's fantastic if you're into cooking, and the concept of going through a dungeon, not taking food, and killing the monsters and eating them as you go, but cooking them in gourmet fashion and using them for different ailments and remedies. It's pretty phenomenal, and honestly, the complexity of what they've done here is quite impressive. So I had to go to one of the greats after finishing Delicious in Dungeon. I let some of our users convince me to watch Death Note. And I did. I gave it a go, and once again, I couldn't stop. I binged through this whole thing. I watched all of it. It says there's one season. There's not really. There's actually two. But make sure not to watch the American live-action version. Watch the anime, and I'll tell you, this is pretty impressive. The concept of, you know, being able to write a name in a book and it kills someone, and taking the most brilliant minds on the planet and giving them this type of power and seeing what they will do with it. It's just a very interesting concept, and this is how you write smart people. And this kind of comes back to the thing that I was talking about in the beginning, which is that maybe this is kind of our saving grace for actual good storytelling. Now, granted, this came out in 2006. But there's a lot of anime and different things out there to find and to dredge up when you're having trouble finding what to watch while you're wading through the absolute crap that America's been putting out lately. And the writing and just the composition, the storytelling, everything about this is quite impressive. And the fact that it came out in 2006 also and still holds up is great. And it seems to be that this type of storytelling has been happening within this realm for a while, and a lot of us have just not been giving it a chance because we weren't interested in anime. I'm back to be taking journeys on my own. I decided to take the journey down into watching Kaiju No. 8. I saw on Crunchyroll that some new show was premiering, and it was about kaiju, hence giant monsters. And if you know anything about me, then you know that I love Pacific Rim, and therefore I will probably love something else about giant monsters if it's remotely good.
You should seriously think about joining the Defense Force.
You're right. So yeah, I'm gonna give the Defense Force another... Huh?
Hold on, sir! We have to get out of here, sir!
And I have great news for you. Kaiju No. 8 just finished its first season. There's only 12 episodes. It's easy to watch. You do have to be subscribed to Crunchyroll, but this show is phenomenal. It's quite good. It's very funny and really kind of rides the line. I will say that this does get into some anime ridiculousness, but it comes back and forth between being grounded and not, humorous and serious, and it does it very well. And I think that the animation styles can even jump around, and they've done it in actually a fairly intelligent way. And we don't have a ton of reviews on this yet, only 4. All of them seem to be rad. I will definitely be giving it a most excellent, and higher than these. I think I'll be somewhere in the upper 80s, but I was really pleased and glad that I kind of went down this little journey for this show as well. And now we're here at one that you have probably seen, One Punch Man. This is the one, it seems like if you haven't seen anime for some weird reason, everybody's still kind of seen it or given it a try, and I think it's just because of the cultural impact of this show. Just so many people have seen it. The idea of the most powerful superhero being a depressed buffoon.
How dare you confront Mother Earth's apostle for such a mindless reason? Yet what can be expected from a human?
Not again.
All it took was one punch.
It's kind of very meta and right along the lines of The Boys, but less edgelordy and lame, or not lame like The Boys has become. This show is, it's wild. This wasn't my favorite of the bunch. I gave it an 83 though, and still liked it quite a lot. I think it might be a little bit overrated, but I think it was still quite good, and the writing's pretty impressive, and there's some really good commentary in here about, you know, depression and what it means to be a human, and just having friends, and, you know, what to do with power when you have it. And I think that there are a lot of interesting themes here that really grab people, which is why this has become so popular. Now, last but not least here is Vinland Saga, and I don't want to fully comment on this because I'm not done yet. I'm about halfway done with season 2, but I binged the ever-loving crap out of season 1, and I'm about halfway through season 2.
A warship has come. A great war is trudging its way forward. And the time for us warriors has come.
You want a sword, do you, Thorfinn? So then tell me this. Who do you intend to kill with a sword?
But this kind of really digs into what anime can do and how impressive it can be. This is actually a European story based on, you know, the Vikings and European history in general. And what they are doing here is quite impressive. And what's interesting is that it's told, you know, through this Japanese lens of English culture and what happened during that part of the world and during this time. And the animation style is phenomenal. The storytelling is excellent, kind of how they dig into this world and this time, and keeping things more grounded. This isn't hyper fantasy. This is actually a lot more grounded, like think the show Vikings. It's kind of a mix between Vikings and Game of Thrones, even though Vikings kind of already had Game of Thrones vibes. But the interesting thing here is that season 1 is this balls out crazy, you know, bloody, gory, fighting war series, you know, in season 1. And then season 2 is something entirely different. And it's almost a bit heavy and quite grounded, and just has a lot of commentary to it, and is telling a lot of complex stories that are not seen a lot today. And I highly recommend this if you have not checked it out. And this would be also one of another good places to start if you're not really into the anime weirdness. And we have 2 reviews right now, one of which being from I Miss Good Movies and another being from Last Haven Media. And if you see one's a 98, one's a 99, and I will probably be somewhere in that ballpark as well. My score is going to be very high. So I would put this on the list for if you are deciding what to do with anime and if you want to give it a shot. So in short, what I'm trying to say is if you are running, you know, low on things to watch and you're trying to decide what to do next and just really want to branch out a little bit and haven't given anime a shot, this could be your chance. This could be your time, because, I mean, let's be honest, right now in the American sphere where we have normally dominated entertainment, we are floundering a little bit right now. And I mean, I think most of us find it pretty obvious what's going on and where the shortcomings are. I mean, and we have lists here within Criticless that can help you really get rolling outside of just what I've talked about. I mean, we have an anime for beginners list here with 127 titles on it. And so this is a list like this are a great place to start, and all you got to do is search anime and you can find these lists fully broken down for you. And I see a lot of the ones that I've been watching and plenty that I haven't, and plan to kind of dig into this list as well. So if you haven't been down this journey and are considering it, I'd say give it a go. You know, you might not go full anime weeb, and I don't plan on it and haven't, but you know, there's more and more that you can check out and get into, and there's so many different niches and groups, and whether you want to stay grounded or not, there's just so many options. And you know, why not give it a try, because right now other stuff's sucking. So thanks for my little anime TED Talk here today. I get to talk about fun, weird things when there's not a lot happening in the news, and this is kind of one that I figured I'd go down. And, you know, thanks to a lot of our Criticless users for pushing me to take the jump and actually give it a go. And one of which that I mentioned, I Miss Good Movies, and also for the users. Those two have been pushing me. And Matt on Criticless Cast has been pushing me for years, but, you know, I mean, it's Matt, so, you know, I just couldn't allow him to win and actually convince me to watch anime. Had to let some other people do it. So he wasn't wrong, and I think actually what really started me on this was the new One Piece, which was a live-action remake, and it's quite good. And I think that from what I've heard, they're actually going to be remaking the original anime series and kind of trimming up the fat, and I definitely will probably be checking that out when it launches as well. But, guys, as always, Thanks for checking it out. And if you want to keep up to date on what's happening in the news, make sure to go ahead and subscribe to our channel, comment, it helps us a bunch, like, and all of that fun stuff. And we will see you back here again tomorrow.